We, as an organization, do not favor any political party, any political candidate, or any other political group. You may see people milling around with literature or other materials, but we do not endorse anyone. We try very hard to be nonpartisan because for us, we can be more effective for you if we do that. Judge Hill will be here shortly, if she's not already here. We also have Zoning Division Manager John Peterson. We have Code Enforcement Manager Kathy Pickett. And then we also are going to be involved with her and the MIC Zoning Committee Chair, Robin Meyer, who is, of course, very instrumental in our work at MIC for zoning causes. What we wanted to do was give you a chance to hear from each one of them because they each have a very specific piece of this equation. They can explain to you briefly what it is they do. We've asked them to kind of give a very brief overview of what each of them does in the arena of zoning. And then we'll have a question and answer period of time so you can ask them questions about things that are more interesting to you.
Good evening. Is that better? All right. My name is Brendan Murphy, and I'm honored to serve as the Chief Magistrate of Cobb County. I want to tell you a little bit, just very briefly, about the magistrate court as a whole, and then kind of zoom in on code enforcement and how the magistrate court interacts with code enforcement. So there are 3 full-time judges at the magistrate court, and we have up to 15 part-time judges. We have jurisdiction both criminal and civil. On the criminal side, in criminal justice, we provide the first 3 hearings that somebody accused of a crime would have in Cobb County. We do things like set bonds, hear if there's probable cause for the case to even continue. So it's very important that we respect everybody's rights, listen to all the stakeholders, and make an informed decision about these criminal cases in the early process. Because if people believe they've been listened to and have actually been listened to, then they can have faith in the criminal justice system going forward to the more advanced stages. On the civil side of magistrate court, we do small claims. So that's all the Judge Judy cases. If anybody here watches Judge Judy or Judge Joe Brown, all those small claims cases worth under $15,000. We handle garnishments and evictions and abandoned motor vehicles, all kinds of civil cases. And then relevantly today, we handle code enforcement cases, and we handle county ordinance violations. So any violation of a county ordinance is heard in magistrate court. Generally, you're looking at about 4,000 cases a year, and there are 2 of us primarily that hear those cases once a week. We're responsible for everything with that, and code enforcement is one source of violations, but we hear all kinds of county code violations. That includes from the police department, from the fire department, from the health department, from animal control, and any violation of a county ordinance, if proven, is punishable by up to a $1,000 fine and or 60 days in jail. So it's very serious business, and we take it very seriously. People accused of a code violation are given an arraignment, where at the arraignment they are formally informed of the charges against them. Sometimes the ticket's just a bunch of numbers and letters, and even I have to ask, well, what does this mean? And so then that's the opportunity for folks to understand exactly what the alleged violation is. At that court session, there's also an opportunity to meet with the witness, if that's a code enforcement officer, somebody from the fire department, so that the person accused of a violation can see if they can work it out with the relevant county agency and come to some kind of agreement. If they come to some kind of agreement, they present that to the judge, to the court, and I decide if it's an appropriate agreement and whether I'm going to approve it or not. If they can't come to an agreement, then they're given a trial date. And because jail time is a possibility in these cases, they can either have a bench trial, which means a judge is deciding if the individual is guilty or not guilty of the violation, or they can have a jury trial. If they have a jury trial, it's bound over to the state court of Cobb County, and it would be heard sometime later. At the trial, the court is truly a neutral party. We're there to hear from the county, hear what the county's evidence is, hear from the person that has allegedly violated the code, and then make a decision. If the person is acquitted and found not guilty, That means they walk out, no fine, no nothing. If the person is found guilty, then the court determines what the sentence should be. And since I've arrived at the magistrate court, what I'm really trying to do, if somebody's been convicted, is find a way to get that individual into compliance, because that's what's going to help the community. It doesn't do any good if there's a junk vehicle and the person has been convicted of having a junk vehicle, and then I just fine them and fine them and fine them to death, because the junk vehicle is still gonna be there. They need some money to get that junk vehicle out of there. And so I try to work with people as best I can to give them time to remedy the situation. And if individuals remedy the situation, then the penalty, if they're convicted, will be less. So, you know, if you just want to pay a $500 fine and leave the property in disarray, well, go ahead, and then code will continue to ticket you. If you want to and have the ability to fix up the property, and I give you the appropriate amount of time to do that, I'm going to work with you and give a reduced fine. So that's a little bit of the overview. We're kind of the neutral party in deciding what happened, was it a violation, and if it is a violation, what are we going to do about it?
I'm Kathy Pickett. I'm the Code Enforcement Manager. Our division is responsible for enforcement of the county ordinances. When it's related to the zoning ordinances, those are primarily permitted uses based on zoning classifications. And there's some minor property maintenance conditions that we also enforce. And when I say minor, I'm not talking about roof leaks and things like that. It's exterior stairways, porches, decks, balconies, those kind of things. As far as how we enforce the ordinance, we are first and foremost primarily complaint driven. So if you contact us and let us know that there's a problem with your neighbor's home, we will respond and issue what's called a notice of violation. The notice of violation will list the description of the violation, it'll list the ordinance section, and then it lists a requirement for compliance. Once, and it'll also give a prescribed time that we will return to do a follow-up inspection. We will communicate with the property owner. If it's a rental property, we can communicate with the renters as well. Once that prescribed time has passed, we will go back to the property to try to gain compliance. If it's in compliance, we'll close our case. If it's not in compliance, we will continue to work with the property owner or the tenant to try to gain compliance. We will go out usually several times before a citation is issued. Once we ascertain that we're not going to be able to achieve compliance, that's when we will issue the citations. Sorry, it's hard to talk. Once the citations are issued, the defendant will be scheduled for arraignment at that point. Anytime that we have a defendant in court, we will continue to go back to the property. So if we have an arraignment scheduled 3 weeks later, we go back again. That way when the officer goes to court, they can let the judge know they're now in compliance or they're not in compliance. We'll have photographs to provide. If it comes to a point of a trial, when the officer goes to court, they have a case synopsis which describes from the very beginning of that case to the end of the case where we are at that point.
Enforcement about, hey, when is this set for court? Because if the individual is convicted, then the judge has to decide what the sentence is. And it always helps to hear code enforcement's perspective. We've been out there 50 times, or this is the first time. And certainly hearing from the community about how an individual's actions have impacted you would inform the judge's sentence, absolutely.
I want to just make mention about what the young lady was asking about. If you have any issues that are regarding, especially if it's police related, Kathy, if you want to get that information later on, I'm happy to speak to him tonight because he's under the weather and just like you, he got laryngitis and all that nasty stuff. So I told him to just be quiet. All right, so he's the precinct commander at precinct 2. He's a major there. So any information as far as the police, tractor trailer, contact him. We'll contact Steph and we'll deal with Steve and all the other issues as far as that concerned. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
you. My name is Unique Clay. I understand too, we have our Cobb County manager is retiring. So tell me, how is that going? Do we have a new manager in place?
Well, I'll try to answer that question the best I can. You know, Rob Hozak is retiring on April the 1st, and as far as I know, there is not a replacement yet. We do have a deputy county manager who's more than qualified to step into that role, but that's going to be determined entirely by the Board of Commissioners who becomes the next county manager. So we're all kind of waiting with y'all to see who it's going to be.
Okay, and got a slew of questions, but the Cobb County Code Amendment 134 and 137 that you were just discussing on Mableton Parkway about housing, is that connected to the Family Life Restoration Center? I'm sorry.
No, it's not, as far as I know. It's not connected to that.
Oh, I'm not finished.
To speak tonight, so.
Good evening, my name is Angela. I live off of Cooper Lake Road, and this comment/question is directed towards code enforcement. I have the neighbor, and her side of her yard is my back tree lawn because I'm on the corner. So I had taken pictures of how the shrubbery has literally moved towards her home. I say her, but it's a family. And the other summer, I offered the family my chainsaw, the rake, the wheelbarrow, and literally was out there myself to help her cut it down. I figured this would be a neighborly approach. So that lasted maybe 4 hours because it got too hot. They came out too late and the soccer tournament was on. So now the shrubbery is just like 8 to 10 feet tall. I took the pictures, sent it to your office, and the gentleman told me that you had no ordinance in reference to the shrubbery. It's a jungle. They need to do something about it.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. Unfortunately, there is no county ordinance that requires that trees and shrubs be pruned. So there's an ordinance that requires that grass and weeds over 12 inches in height be cut, but there is no ordinance to require that property owner prune those shrubs. So we cannot control the height of the shrubs. I applaud you for trying to help her accomplish that task, but unfortunately, we can't intervene in this circumstance.
I got a question. My name is
Good
Roger.
evening. Hi everyone, I'm Chisa Johnson. I live on Vonda Lane, and that's just adjacent to the railroad tracks. So every morning at 5 in the morning, the train will stop and park for the night by my house. And it cranks up and the engine has a roar and warms up. And then just before takeoff, it blows the horn at 5 in the morning. So I don't know if you guys know that, but it is definitely disturbing the peace. I do now. I wake up at 5 now.
All right, so I guess she's asking if there's any kind of role that the county has with respect to that.
There's nothing as far as from a code enforcement perspective that we could address. I don't know that that may possibly be a violation of the county ordinance related to noise. There's a noise ordinance that's enforced by Cobb Police. I can't specifically think of anything in that particular code that would be enforceable for the train network. So I don't.
20 years empty is known as the Mother's Finest building. Will it ever go away, or are we just gonna have to watch it for the rest of our life?